Welcome to That Makes Sense. This is not just a channel, it's a way of thinking. I question everyday life, explore modern problems, and break down things in a simple, logical way, so that complex things start making sense.
You ever get that feeling, like you're just treading water, working harder than ever, but somehow falling behind? Well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dig into that very real squeeze on the American wallet and figure out why everything just feels so impossibly expensive.
I mean, it's a question that probably pops into your head all the time, right? Maybe you're at the grocery store, or paying rent, or just staring at your bank account at the end of the month thinking, where did it all go? Why doesn't our money stretch like it used to? And let me just say right off the bat, no, you are not imagining it. This isn't just some vague feeling or anxiety. The numbers, the hard data, they all back it up. For millions and millions of Americans, this financial pressure is a very, very real thing. So how in the world did we get here? Well, that's what we're going to break down. We'll look at why everything feels so pricey, then we'll dive into the big ones: housing, healthcare, and education. We'll even talk about something called the paycheck paradox, and then, finally, put it all together.
All right, let's kick things off with the big picture. We're not talking about the price of your morning coffee here. The real squeeze comes from a few massive big-ticket items that eat up the biggest slice of our paychecks. And trust me, when you look closely at those, the picture gets pretty wild. Okay, so first on the list is probably the biggest one of all, a place to live. You know, the absolute cornerstone of a stable life. But for so many people, what used to be a reachable goal is now this massive hurdle. Just look at that number for a second. Over $400,000. And that's the median price for a home in the US right now. That means half the homes in the country sell for more than that. That one number really tells you everything you need to know about the challenge people are up against.
And this right here, this really puts it all in perspective. See, it's not just that homes are expensive today. It's about how much they've outpaced our ability to pay for them. Housing costs have just exploded, jumping up 350%. But our incomes, they've only gone up about 150%. That huge gap you see? Yeah, that's the squeeze. That's what everyone is feeling.
All right, let's shift gears to another major wallet buster: healthcare. I mean, it's no secret the US system is, well, it's notoriously expensive. And to really get why budgets are so strained, you gotta understand what's going on here. And the thing is, it's not just one thing you can point to. You've got these super complex insurance models that just pile on costs. Then there's all the administrative bloat, mountains of paperwork. Plus, and this is a big one, you often have no idea what anything costs until the bill shows up in the mail. And on top of all that, yeah, drug prices just keep climbing.
Okay, so that brings us to the third major pillar of financial stress: getting an education. Something that was supposed to be the ticket to a better life has turned into a financial anchor, weighing people down with debt for decades. And this comparison is just wow. Think about it. A generation or so ago, you could work a summer job and pay for a good chunk of your college tuition. But today, the cost has ballooned so much that graduating without some serious debt is, for most people, pretty much impossible.
And get this massive $1.7 trillion debt pile, it's not just a young person's problem anymore. Look at who's holding it. People in their 30s, their 40s, even their 50s and older. This has become a multi-generational crisis that affects everything: buying a house, saving for retirement, even starting a family.
So, we've talked a lot about costs going up, up, up. But what about the other side of the coin? Our income. This leads us to what some people call the paycheck paradox. You know that feeling when you get a raise, but you don't actually feel any richer? Yeah, that's it.
And this quote just nails it. The biggest economic story for a lot of people isn't just that the rich got richer, it's that the basic ingredients for a middle-class life, a home, good healthcare, and education, have become so expensive they almost feel like luxury items now.
This is such a crucial point to understand. We're in this weird spot where the things you absolutely need to build a stable life, a house, healthcare, college, childcare, have shot through the roof. But at the same time, the stuff we use to fill our lives, like TVs, phones, toys, flights, have actually gotten way cheaper. And that can kind of hide the real problem, right? We can buy a giant TV for a few $100, but the foundations of a secure life are slipping away.
So, let's step back and put all these pieces together. What does this all add up to? Well, it paints a pretty clear picture of a new American reality, one that's just full of constant financial stress and tough choices.
So let's just recap the big takeaways here.
First, the essentials, housing, health, and education, have totally outpaced what our paychecks can handle. Second, wages for most people have basically been stuck in neutral for decades. Third, that growing gap between income and expenses is why so many of us feel like we're just running on a treadmill. And finally, all the cheap consumer stuff we can buy, it kind of masks the much bigger problem, the rising cost of just being stable and secure.
And that brings us to one last big question to chew on. If the core pieces of a stable, good life are becoming this hard to get, what does that say about the whole idea of the American dream? Is it turning into a luxury item? It's definitely something to think about.
Thanks for listening to my thoughts. If this made you think differently, you're on the right track. Subscribe and stay with That Makes Sense, where we break things down until they actually make sense.